Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I've heard a lot about this committee over the years. That's supposed to be funny. But thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee, colleagues and friends. It's a real pleasure to be here today to discuss House Bill 1013, the Mental Health Parity Act, which I am proud to co-sponsor, along with many others, including Chairman Jones and Chairman Oliver. I want to begin by thanking all of you for the time and consideration that you've given this legislation. This is an important discussion. I think it's the most important we will take up this year. I have watched much of the testimony from your last two meetings and appreciate the thoughtful consideration and the questions and comments, input, both from members of the committee as well as those members of the public who offered testimony. This discussion, as I've said before, impacts most every family in Georgia in one way or another. Many Georgians are suffering with mental health issues. Their families are suffering. They're looking for help and either don't know where to turn or may in fact not have any viable option for mental health services. I have said and will continue to say that the number one state for business in this nation cannot and will not be among the worst for mental health care and access and quality. That's why I've called on two of the brightest, most determined and passionate members of our House on this topic, Chairman Todd Jones and Chairman Mary Margaret Oliver, to work together to carry this bill through the process. They have worked diligently to move this bill through the committee process, carefully considering feedback and suggestions, and offer revisions where appropriate. I cannot thank them enough for being willing to accept this charge, and they have represented our entire House with distinction throughout the process. I'd also like to thank the many co-signers of this bill from both political parties, because this is not a partisan issue. This is not a geographic issue. This is not an income issue. But leaders from both parties, including the Majority Leader John Burns and Minority Leader James Beverly, and many other members of House leadership for being a part of this effort. I also want to thank the members of the Georgia Behavioral Health Reform and Innovation Commission, chaired by former State Representative Kevin Tanner. This bipartisan commission included mental health practitioners and advocates, representatives from the criminal justice system, and two of our own House members. And here I must stop and thank again Chairman Mary Margaret Oliver and Chairman Don Hogan for their service on this commission. This legislation will be paired with funding in both our amended FY 2022 budget and the FY 2023 budget to implement the provisions of House Bill 1013 and a host of investments in both public safety and mental health. In total, these investments will amount to approximately $100 million, $29 million of which is for House Bill 1013 alone. Should the committee choose to recommend this measure for passage, it will next move to the Rules Committee and then the House floor, and then it will go over to our colleagues in the Senate. So this is just the beginning of what I expect will be a multi-year conversation. We did not get in this place we are today overnight, and we will not get out overnight, but I can't think of a better big first step to take than this bill. We have yet a distance to go toward improving the care for and quality of life of many of our fellow Georgians. So I want to close by asking you to join with me in helping our state take a substantive, meaningful, and historic step toward reforming and improving mental health care in Georgia. I would ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 1013. And Madam Chair, I would ask that you now recognize Chairman Mitchell for his motion. So. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. Speaker. Would you take any questions from the committee if there is any?
I'll take one or two.
Okay.
Actually,
Do we have anybody on the committee that would like to comment or ask a question? Well, seeing, Representative Hutchinson.
I'm not scared. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this bill. I really like it. Everything in it is things that should happen. But what I've said in the committee before is, my worry is that we're getting this huge, great bill and putting it on top of the broken system. So that's just, the bill is great. I feel good being behind this bill, but my worry is still that we're putting a lot on top of a broken system. So that's just
well, that's a valid observation, but if it's broke already, I don't think this will break it anymore. And so I think if we're going to bring about big reform, we have to start big, and that's why we did in this bill in doing that. So I make no apologies for it being a big bill, a major bill.